So, just got to do a quick microphone test. So, speak into your microphone.
Hello, everything all right
That's
here?
working, is it? I think.
Yeah,
You
I
feel
think
it
so,
working?
yes.
Okay, Juan?
Yeah, I think so.
Great.
Yeah.
Susanna?
1, 2, 3.
Great.
Testing.
And then Harry.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, eins, whatever Dutch is, eins, zwei, drei. No, it's not.
All right.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so we got everyone. I think we have. Okay, brilliant. So, running slightly behind time for the first time all day. So the next panel is on corporate ventures. And we have Mark, we have Susanna, we have Juan, and we have Harry. So all of the people advertised. So without further ado, I'll pass you over to Mark. So round of applause, please, for Mark. Thank you. Come on, cheers, everyone. Come on, wake out of your slumbers.
Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much for being here. And thanks very especially to the panelists. We want to discuss growth and scaling up with our panelists who run corporate venture firms. So my first question to you guys would be, what are the main misunderstandings entrepreneurs have when you meet them? When you guys invest in them, in their companies, what is going on that is wrong in there?
Yeah. If I may start. So maybe very quickly about Amadeus Ventures, which is the program that I run. So we are a startup investment program of Amadeus IT Group, which is a technology company focused on the travel and transportation industry. So what we do is we look around the world, look for very talented entrepreneurs who are working on projects that are sitting at the crossroad of technology and travel. So we provide them with funding, but also other things that we are going to be talking about later. So we've been running for almost 5 years now, and so we have a healthy portfolio, and we've seen some of them growing from really the C stage into like Series A and Series B. So coming back to the question of like what are the misunderstandings, I think the misunderstanding here is you think that once you are able to raise money, you would have enough disposal cash to be able to do a lot of things. But I think what we have seen is, like for entrepreneurs, you continue to face a lot of trade-offs, like during your lifetime as an entrepreneur. You need to trade off between, for example, what we've seen in some of our portfolio companies, whether you should be investing in more sales and marketing efforts to go out and sell to more customers, or should you be like really paying off some of your technology debt in the company, the things that you did in the past, that you did a quick and dirty way, that you really need to upgrade your platform such that it becomes more scalable. So you see all these trade-offs ongoing in companies that are, say, growing actually pretty healthily.
Harry, do you want to make a small intro regarding you guys?
Sure. Thanks. Yeah, short introduction. I'm heading the corporate investment arm of the Rabobank, which is a Dutch-based bank called Rabo Frontier Ventures. We have done 9 investments so far, not only in the fintech scene, but also in the agri-tech scene. And it has to do with our heritage as a bank. In the blockchain area, of course, in the trade finance, trade commodity finance area. A couple of them related to financial cruise control in the retail as well in the wholesale market. And back to your question, what my experience is, you know, if you mature as a startup to scale up, sales is extremely important. And a lot of teams I've seen is they just hire a salesperson and think then the job is done. And but then you know the real work really starts, and also there's also a lack of preparation. You know, looking at the background as an investor, what we are really aiming for, they just approach you like doing a cold sale. And I think, you know, if you really want to get an investor involved in general, you really need to prepare yourself and see what our investment themes are and what our strategy is.
Excellent. Juan, and do you want to do a small intro also?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm Senior Investment Associate from Repsol. We launched a fund this year of 85 million euros. And we focus in different search fields, but most of them, you know, industrial. So we closed this year already 8 investments. And yeah, that's the main key things of our funds and our corporate fund. Back to the question of this. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm gonna be more specific, but one of the most important misunderstandings we have with the startups is that sometimes, you know, when we complete an investment, they think, you know, they have like kind of commercial preferences. We have first, you know, to put them in contact with our internal clients, and yeah, that's maybe the most important thing.
So that everybody knows, I'm a founding partner of CREA. We're an M&A boutique, and we help companies in fundraising processes. We help companies in sell mandates and buy mandates. And when some of our clients come to us looking for money, we do tell them that it can be important. It's not always important, but it can be important who comes with you, who accompanies you. Sometimes the business plan is relatively simple. Nothing is easy in life, but straightforward. And sometimes the sort of stumble blocks you're going to find, you're going to need somebody senior in your board, an investor that can go with you. Could you guys give us a few examples or some ideas of how you help the invested companies to scale up? How do you help the entrepreneurs and the startups to grow up and above investing in them, of course?
From our side, basically, of course, we gave them financial stability. That's probably the key thing. And then we help them to deploy their technologies in our business. We have a very large business and international. So we help them, you know, to promote their businesses as well in different business units of Repsol. And then as well, we open them to sales channel and contacts worldwide. And yeah, I think that's the main thing we do.
And how do you guys from the corporate side are able to influence in the business side? I mean, does that really work then?
Yeah, sometimes it's difficult because, for example, you have many interests in a specific company. That company, you know, could be very good in terms of financials, but you know, the business or the internal units, they don't see it. So sometimes we have to insist them and, you know, try to push a little. But yeah, I mean, it's the trade-off between us and the internal units, and this always happens because in our case we are a strategic fund. So we just don't seek for financials. I mean, a profit. We just look for as well the technologies and what they can give to us as well.
Excellent.
Harry? We actually do it on two ways. One guy in my team is a venture manager, and he's taking care of the setting up the proof of concepts of the venture together with the business lines. So that's one way. And the other way is if you look at my investment committee, there are, some of them are part of the executive board, and these executive members are actually responsible to move the venture forward in terms of getting access to the client base, to the marketing channels, or setting up commercial agreements with the ventures.
Okay.
And that's extremely important to have backing from on a high level in order to be successful.
Yeah. So similarly, we're quite clear that there are three things that we can do for startups. One is industry knowledge. So we understand our industry well in travel. We have a technology that we can share with the startups. And last but not least is about customer reach. So for startups, you will be able to sell to the innovators in the industry directly. But once you have sold to most of them, you need to start reaching the next tier of customers. And that is where we really can help. In that case, because we have for Amadeus, we have a very extensive customer network with airlines, airports, travel agencies all around the world. And we really share that with the startups who come into our portfolio. So either it is to give you an opportunity to present in our Amadeus branded customer events, or more importantly, it is about whether we can actually integrate your technology into our solutions, that together we can approach the customers together as additional value proposition. So it's a win-win situation that we can bring value proposition faster to our customers and also bring you guys along with us.
Harry?
Yeah, and my experience is, working together with the fintech ecosystem. Like 5 or 7 years back, it was really opposed to the incumbents. As a fintech startups, you were like there, well, I'm going to conquer the world, I'm going to do a better job. But now it's really about collaboration, because if you look at the incumbents, they're slow, but at least they still have some corporate assets, which can be leveraged by, working together closely with the business lines. And just to give you a simple example, which is actually helping a startup really out, is a South African startup, wants to expand the business into California. So we have a big footprint in California, and it's easy, to bring them in touch with clients of us and just do the validation, and if it's going to work out in California.
And do you guys find you need to help them with regards to managing their financial plan, their financial expectations and discipline? Because one of the things we find is that startups without a formal board and without professional investors tend to be a bit sloppy with regards to board meetings, to setting down a strategy. It's a bit like going to the gym. Nobody wants to do it, but once you've done it, you're happy you've done that. Do you find that sort of thing?
Yeah, Mac, I think you're absolutely right. You're spot on. So these days, when we talk to startups, especially when they are raising their first or second round, we strongly encourage them to find a financial investor to co-invest with us. Being a strategic investor, we know where we can add value, which is the reach and the industry knowledge. So if we can complement that with the expertise of a financial investors who are more disciplined in terms of making sure the numbers are there, making sure that the board meetings are happening, I think it's the perfect combination of the skill sets of the both sides.
Very interesting. Yeah, okay. Can you tell us some horror story of your experience, or that you have you can tell us about, so that we can all learn from bad past?
Yeah, I mean, no, please go ahead.
Well, I won't. I can't say which company it was, but they had a tremendous reputation externally, and so we were interested and talked to them in much more detail. But then it actually looks like a Christmas tree full of initiatives, a garden with tons of flowers, but nowhere scale. So it was. So I think that of course, they were very optimistic. So every single opportunity they took along and brought it forward, instead of thinking about what's our real focus and what's our mission, and then select the top ones and proceed.
And what happened then with this company?
Well, we sat down and we said, you have like 15 or 20 different initiatives. Just pick 2. The most promising one, and just focus only purely on these.
And did
2.
they? Or
they did, yeah.
They did.
Yeah.
Right. Any more horror stories?
Yeah, in my particular case, our fund is quite young, so we have some legacy assets from the previous fund. And definitely, I don't have a particular horror story, but what we can see in some of the companies is sometimes a lack of business and strategy focus. So we have very technical people with plenty of expertise, but then you don't see them, very focused in strategy and business.
Suzanne?
Yeah, my team over there says that we definitely don't have any horror
only good
stories.
investments.
Yes,
you guys are really good.
No, we have exactly what you mentioned before. startups that focus very much on sales, marketing, product, but haven't been paying attention to financial numbers, balance sheets not balancing, like budget version 1, 2, 3, like numbers keep changing, and so it's very. So even with strategic, we still require some kind of standard to be able to understand what is going on in the organization. So in those circumstances, it's quite difficult being the venture arm, like how we can communicate the trust message back to the organization to say that we should continue to support these startups. So that's one aspect of it. Like we've got horror stories of running out of money, of course. Like you got a call on a Friday night at 7 o'clock because that is opening of business in San Francisco, and they said that I need the document signed in 3 hours. Say thousands of pages of legal documents, and legal, of course, they are all home already.
Yeah.
So we've got a few of those scare moments, but overall, so I would say what is important is continuous communications with your investors. Say, get them involved, get them on board. That transmit trust is what you need. It's the building of the ongoing relationships. It is not only about the quarterly board meetings that you present a very nice PowerPoint, but it's the continuous development of the communications and keep them up to date to avoid any last minute surprises. I think that's, from an investor point of view, what we really want.
Harry, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, well, interesting enough, if we have this conversation right now, it's not are very obvious things, and it reminds me of the report CB Insights published at the beginning of this year. What are the pitfalls or the failures of startups, and there are a very obvious one. So I think number one, it's more than 40% is there's no market need, and not a proper business model. Is, I think second, and the third one is. Team problems with the team, and that's also what I notice, and we pay a lot of attention to it, is team composition and team assessment. So before we step in, but we monitor that closely as well, because if you look at startups in the beginning, they are more or less yellow-minded. They are very optimistic, and they want to close the deals, etc. But as you mature, it's very important to have COO types in the team as well to make it successful, have the metrics right, etc., etc.
Yeah, actually, in our experience, and we also look to see if we can predict success also for the good of our work. We find there's two types of failure. One has to do with demand, market, wasn't the right moment, it really isn't that interesting, or the technology doesn't really solve something. And the other has to do with lack of focus or prioritizing. The reality is, you need to do 87 things that are very, very important and urgent, and you have the capacity to do 8 or something like that. And somebody that can understand that can pull the business forward maybe, and sometimes you find very creative people, very technology-minded people that cannot. Any happy stories, any success stories to share with us, hopefully?
Cabify. Yeah, we are early investor of Cabify, so we're very happy with that investment. Yeah.
So what went well other than demand and that it's such a happy ending? What?
So overall, it echoes back to what I mentioned before: investor relationships. Keep the communication close. Successful investments is always about being able to raise the next round, like get important customers on board, so being able to find your place, and being able to make the right pivot at the right moment. I think that's also a very important point. You may not start with the right idea, but knowing when to change, I think that's the very important point. One company that we invested in that is based in San Francisco, they started with like a product for a particular segment, which we thought is very promising. But after a year and a half, they actually got a lot of like resellers on board, but the volume, the transition volume was just not coming through. And then they realized that they needed to change, and they used exactly the same technology, but use it for another customer segment, and then it just flied like. over the board. So understanding when you need to change and have the courage to change, I think it is also very
And
important.
it's easier said than done, of course.
Totally.
Yeah. Harry?
Yeah. Well, we are backing Peaks, which is a mobile-only investment app. Started in the Netherlands. What they actually do is very simple. So investment for millennials is difficult. Usually they start to gaze because they think it's complicated. You know, it costs a lot of money, etc., etc. But what they actually do is just put as soon as you do the transaction, they round up the transaction and put it in an investment pocket. So it's a mobile-only chatbot-based app, and it's actually doing extremely well in the Netherlands. And now they're expanding, or want to expand the business into Europe, so everyone can take advantage of that. Yeah.
Good. Juan?
From my side, I didn't make an exit yet. So what I can tell is that we have right now a company that's focused in smart cities and car sharing. And this company, at the beginning wanted to expand internationally. They plan to do it in an organic way, with all capex coming from the funds of the company and so on. They switched to a different level because they realized, they didn't have like a proper knowledge of the local ecosystem and so on. They find like a kind of franchise model that now is working very well, and they open already in seven countries in Latin America. So I think they are doing very well.
Excellent. What is it you guys look for when you're presented, when you're pitched with regards to growth? What is it the key elements you look if somebody comes here to you with a startup and they say, hey, we're going to grow and we would like to have you as an investor? What is it you focus on when you're looking into these things?
Well, it's actually not that much different than how an VC looks at a venture. And I think that's extremely important, because you want to attract other investors as well. So you don't want to have a special deal with them. So you need to distinguish your investment case from the commercial agreement. And a commercial agreement is, of course, very interesting for the venture, because then, they can grow. But you don't want to mix that up. So that's extremely important. And of course, you look also from a bank perspective, does it create a strategic option for the future of the bank? And you discuss that, but you don't want to mix that up with your investment case.
For growth stage, I would say KPIs. Absolutely, because the company has reached a stage that they should be able to produce high quality and informative KPIs to say that they have already found the solution, market solution fit, that stage, and is ready to continue to scale up. Another point that may be less obvious is around the team structure. So when you've reached the growth stage, the founding team is important, but you should be able to grow beyond the founding team and be able to assemble a group of core people that may have more experience in dealing with international expansions and so really taking care of a growing business to go along the journey with you. So I would say those are the two key things.
Juan?
Yeah, I agree totally in the staff thing. I mean, for us, it's very important the management, and we really like the companies that knows how to separate the founder role from the CEO role. Sometimes the founders get too emotional at some point. Sometimes it's just business and you have to focus on strategy. And to us, the management team, especially in terms of growth and scaling up the business, it's a key thing.
What advice do you give if you had a family friend that is about to start their fundraising process or thinking in a high growth company? What advice would you give them?
I would say choose the right partners. It looks very obvious, but you know, it can definitely, you know, in some way conditionate your future expansion or the growing of the scaling up of the company. And I think in our case, I think we always try to add value to the company, to the startup, and help them in whatever they need.
Excellent. More advice?
Yeah, well, I think that's a call also for the people here, for startups and scale-ups. So if you want to take advantage of the huge potential a bank has, also on a global level, especially in the agri-tech space, please step forward afterwards and let me know.
I would say raise more than you think you need, and raise earlier than what you think you would want to start.
Yeah.
It always takes longer. It always takes you more money. So raise more.
My advice would be take fundraising extremely seriously. Fundraising, well, money is very important. It's very difficult to get somebody put their hands in their pockets, get out money and give it to a company in exchange of papers, because at the end of the day, what you're exchanging is a whole bunch of papers. That is very important and will determine your future. So make this a priority of the CEO, of the team, up there with traction, up there with the most important things. Invest a lot of time and take it very, very seriously. Okay? Well, as far as I know, our time is up. All right, so thank you, everybody. Okay, bye.